Hello, and welcome back. I'm Reiki Robert, and today I'm going to be sharing my story. Where I have been, where I came from, how I got to the place in life where I am now. As a Reiki master, an energy worker, living here on Kauai. I want to share my story just to be as real as possible with you, just share where I've been, more about how I grew up, what got me to this point. I know that people see me these days about where I am, and I seem very zen and calm and centered and clear and on my path. And while I do feel like all of these things are true, this has not always been where I have been, and it has not always been an easy journey, and there have been a lot of steps along the way that have gotten me here today. So hopefully through listening to my story, maybe you can find some pieces that you resonate with, maybe find some inspiration for you on your journey, a more clear understanding of me and why I am the way that I am today. So let's start at the beginning. I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was raised in a Mormon family. There are 6 kids in my family. I have 4 sisters, 1 brother, my mom, my dad, so there was 8 of us, and we were raised in the Mormon church. The Church of Latter-day Saints, or the LDS Church. Depends how you want to say it, but that's where I was, right in the epicenter in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I was in a pretty big family, surrounded by siblings, and I was deep into the church, going every single week. That's almost the only people that I was connecting with socially for a long time growing up as well. So while this was really good in a lot of ways, just a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of community, there was a lot that didn't really fully feel right to me. And there was a sense of obligation, being raised in the church, being expected to go to church every week, having these mandates put on me of how I'm supposed to live my life, what I can't do, what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to be, and it really didn't fully resonate with me. So at 16, I stopped going. I just made the choice and became really firm in my boundaries around being forced to go participate in something that I didn't really believe in. And I definitely pulled away from that point from any sort of religion or spirituality or any belief in God or anything outside of the physical and this single lifetime. And I created a much more narrow viewpoint and viewfinder through which I was looking at life, seeing myself as Robert within this lifetime, 16, 18, 20 years old, and not even considering the possibility that there was anything outside of that which I could perceive with my 2 eyes, or that I could understand just in my own personal experience. After leaving the church, I was actually quite content with my decision. It felt really good to be in my sovereignty of making my own decisions about what I wanted to do with my life, what I was comfortable with, and just making my own choices outside of the restrictions or guidelines or expectations of the church or my family. So through high school and after, I kind of floated around between several different jobs. I was a lifeguard, I worked at Subway, worked at Red Lobster, Sports Authority, at Jimmy John's. I actually worked for IKEA. I was a delivery driver. I would just pick up at IKEA every day, go bring all of the boxes, all of the furniture to people's houses all around Salt Lake City. And then when I got to my early 20s, I worked at a call center. I was transcribing and dictating phone calls for hard of hearing people. So I would literally listen to phone calls and just speak it back into the computer, back into my headset. Just like you do voice to text, I was doing the voice to my computer to text, to type up on their phone. So I was just a repeater. I had no actual engagement with people at all. I worked graveyards, so there was very few calls, and that's not a very fulfilling job. I was supporting people in a way, but oftentimes they thought that I was a robot. They thought that I was a machine because their phone would just type up what the conversation was, and they didn't know there was actually a person behind it. So in this space, I ended up having a lot of time, and I wanted to get more clear about where I wanted to go with my life. I chose not to go the route of secondary education. I didn't really feel aligned with following through, going to university or college. And that's part of me floating around, figuring out what really felt good to me, and nothing seemed to stick so far. I got into the gym just a bit after high school and really started working out consistently hard in my early 20s, and it became clear that I wanted to become a personal trainer. So this is something that could be active. I can work with people directly, face to face, not through a screen or a phone. I can actually help support people in their health and wellness. And it really felt like something that would be offering me a kind of variety and a challenge and something that I love to do personally. So I took the time that I had at the call center and I started to study. I would watch YouTube videos, I would listen to podcasts, I would just learn about the body, about anatomy, about physiology, about training, about recovery, about injuries and how to start rehabbing people. And I registered to take my certification through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, the NASM Certified Personal Training Program, and I got my training certificate. I applied at Gold's Gym to become a trainer. I got hired and I started training. I was working in tandem with both jobs, call center at night, going in at 10 p.m., getting off at 7:30 in the morning, and then going into the gym late afternoon and working through the evening as a trainer. So I increased my workload quite a bit, just building up into the point where I could sustain myself just strictly through training. So after about 6 months of working at the gym and the call center simultaneously, I was able to give my notice to the call center and go fully into personal training, into where I felt my energy was being pulled, into the space that really felt much more aligned for me. And that's where I found myself for years, about 7 years actually. I was in personal training. I was in Salt Lake City. I worked at a couple of different gyms as I really built my foundation, working with hundreds or even thousands of people over those first few years. And I ended up being pulled to Washington, actually. I found myself in a relationship with a woman who lived in Spokane, Washington. So when I decided to move to Spokane with this new relationship that I'd formed, I wasn't even sure that I wanted to continue training. It seemed like a fresh start, and I was considering going into a different direction. And I gave myself about a month and considered what other route that I could take, what other options I had. And I found myself back at the gym, actually, back training again. So I started fresh and really doubled down with where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. So taking that month off and moving up there, I was really not bringing in a lot of money, and there were some expenses that came through that I had to make up. And the girl that I was dating at the time was not very happy coming into that situation, and not really seeing me produce at the level that she desired. And it ended up causing some serious friction, like some real issues in our relationship, because I wasn't at the level that she really wanted me to be at. And I saw my path was really clear. I knew where I was going. I was going to continue with my training, become the top trainer in the company. I wanted to move up and be the manager of a gym, and grow from there and be a district manager and continue teaching others that are earlier on their journey and sharing everything that I know. And I saw it clearly. I was going to be successful. Amongst other things, there was too much that wasn't really working with our relationship, and things faded out with her. And I was at a crossroads again. I'm in a fairly new city. I'd only been there for about 6 months at that point. My business hadn't fully taken off to where I wanted it to be yet. And I was left with the choice of going back to Salt Lake City, going back home to everything and everyone that I knew, or staying the course and continuing with where I knew I wanted to go. And this place that was new, that allowed me to really grow free from those distractions or those other people and places I was so used to and so comfortable in being. So I decided to stay. I decided to stay for at least 1 year. I was able to get an apartment for myself that was close to the gym, and I just anchored in and just worked and worked and worked and worked. And I brought these visions, these goals into reality. I brought them to fruition. I built myself to be one of the top trainers in the company, and within about another year after that, I was actually given the opportunity to move up and manage my own gym. So exactly what I set out to do and what I said I would do, I did. I was given the gym that was kind of the not the pinnacle of the company. They had the lowest producing training department, and generally speaking, it was one of the more difficult gyms to manage to a high degree to hit the goals because whatever reason, no one seemed to stick there. But I was given the opportunity, and I took that for what it was. It was an opportunity, and I really gave it all of my energy and turned things around. I turned them around and continuously hit gold just month after month, and they were seeing what I was doing there. The higher ups were really happy with my performance there, with the kind of growth I was able to bring to the gym. So everything was going in a really good direction. Around the middle of March last year, I had the #1 gym in the company, and then COVID hit and everything shut down. So this brings me to the progression of my journey, but we're gonna backtrack just a little bit. During my time training, I was given the chance to work with some shamans. I was given the opportunity to dive into some plant medicine work, specifically to work with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is one of the most potent, powerful medicines on the planet. It's completely natural. It's from a few different plants when brewed together, create this portal that is for healing, connecting with the other side, and can be deeply, deeply therapeutic and realigning with yourself. So I was training, I knew where I was going, but I knew I had some deeper issues that I wanted to address and look at. So I heard that ayahuasca was really good for these things, so given the chance, I thought it would be an amazing opportunity. So I went for it. I went to a weekend retreat where we did 2 days back to back. And then I found out there's a lot more than what meets the eye. I was so stuck in a way in the physical with what I thought reality was, a very limited perception of what was, and very, very dialed into my work, again with the physical, just training the body, being in the present, just this life. There is no God, there is no spirit, there is no of the metaphysical or psychic abilities, nothing even exists, and that seemed to be peaceful, like a safe space for me. And then everything got opened up and dissolved through this ayahuasca experience to allow me to see more of what is on the other side, actually perceiving that there was another side of things. And through the 2 years I was in Spokane, I had several experiences. I went back a few times to go further and dive deeper within myself and start to uncover these shadow aspects that hadn't been looked at. I kind of left them in the past, and allowing myself to really see them, integrate them, process and clear them in this way so I could move forward with more freedom, a little more lightly, a little more freely. And I started getting into meditation, and I saw that I wanted to do some deeper work. I connected in with a Reiki master that started facilitating sessions with me. She started working with my energy, and we were doing remote sessions where she lived across the state, and I was in my living room or in my bedroom, just laid back, meditating, and I could feel the energy as she was moving through me. It didn't even make sense at the time. I was working with this energy and this person I couldn't even see, and she would tell me exactly what was coming up, and it resonated so deeply within me that she really was tapped in, and I could feel it too. I knew that she was. So I kept coming back for more because I felt lighter, I felt brighter, I felt more clear, I felt more myself. And I dove deeper. I connected with another therapist and practitioner for NLP work, some deeper subconscious reprogramming, working with my inner child, some previous childhood traumas, going back to them, revisiting my younger self, retelling the story of what happened, reintegrating a space of love and energy back where I needed it most, back when I needed it most, and allowing myself to clear these childhood traumas, these limitations, these old stories and beliefs that were no longer true, but that I was operating from now, in the present time, that were affecting my relationships, that were affecting my growth in my career, that were affecting my own mentality about how I viewed who I was and who I am, and what I was worth or what I was capable of. So through these times, I'm working with plant medicine, I'm receiving Reiki sessions, I'm receiving NLP sessions, and then I connected with another practitioner for biofeedback, where it's a more technological solution, and the biofeedback machine can scan my aura, scan my energy field, all the energy that my body is putting out, and it can tell what's off, where there are blocks within my chakras, within my aura, what's holding me back from accessing my higher psychic abilities or these dream states, any sorts of traumas that have happened within my body, just helping reset and rebalance myself. So I'm working with all these different modalities, getting more clear. And then in January of 2020, just a few months before everything shut down, I broke through. I broke through energetically. I felt something coming. I felt something so strongly coming through me, and I didn't know what it was. So I sat down on my couch. I'm just at home, and then I feel energy start to flow through my arm and through my hand, and I've never experienced anything like that. So this is what energy looks like when I'm channeling it, and now I know how to control it, how to allow that energy to go, and I can make energy balls, and I can send energy out as well. But in that space, I didn't even understand what was happening, but I let it happen. I let the energy start to channel through me, start to flow and clear the channels that wanted to go. And I knew something really deep was happening. Obviously, I never experienced anything like that. So knowing that energy work is now a thing, having received these different modalities for several months, I decided to invite a friend over and see if she could feel it, see if I could actually transmit this energy to her. And turns out I could. And it turns out that she could feel it, and she could receive the energy that I was transmitting through my hands, through myself. And it was this wholly, entirely new space that I didn't even know what to do with it or what it was, but it was happening, and it was very real. And having the confirmation of a close friend that I really deeply trusted to allow her to experience that in that space, and getting confirmation that there was actually something being transmitted, that she could feel the energy coming through. And then I could feel what was going on with her energy and what was going on in her body. And then being able to control where the energy is going in the body. And my mind starts to open to what's really possible. So I reached out to my friend that lived across the state who had received some Reiki sessions in person, and asked her if she would be open to me trying to transmit some energy over to her across the state. So I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I hadn't been trained in energy work or Reiki in any way, but I knew that it was possible since I'd received remote sessions before. So we set up a time to connect, and I just had her in mind and just sent out the energy towards her direction. So we connected in after, and sure enough, she was able to receive the energy. She felt the waves down her body connecting in, and that warmth and energy going all the way throughout her, just from my intention and just from my thoughts of sending the energy over towards her. So I connected in with the Reiki master that I had been receiving sessions from. Her name is Tilly. And I asked her about what was going on. I told her that I had the breakthrough, that I'm channeling energy, that I sent some across the state already, and she said, stop. And she said that she would be willing to take me on as a student, but that I needed to start working on myself. Don't connect in with everybody. I don't know what I'm doing yet. So I listened. I stopped working with anybody else. And I started doing sessions with myself, started channeling the energy into the different chakras into my body, different places on my body that felt like they wanted it at the time. And I went from there. I started studying with her. She was teaching me everything that she knows. Took me through the attunement process, the Reiki level 1 attunement, the Reiki level 2 attunement, which let me work with other people. And it was through that process that I really started diving in when the gyms shut down, because then I had time. All I had was time. And with this new space, having just been learning through January, through February, through March, and then getting my level 2 attunement, I was able to facilitate sessions remotely for people. I now had every single day free with the gym shut down, so I put it out there on Instagram asking people who wanted to work with me. I just wanted feedback. I just wanted people that were willing to receive sessions, that were trusting me to hold that space, that were open to the work, and just wanted some feedback, honestly, and the opportunity to practice more of this. So I was given plenty of opportunity because likewise, people had some time and it seems like they had some interest in what I was doing. I had the opportunity to facilitate sessions for others that were living in other states. Some people were close to me, some were local that I could do in-person work, which I, loved that opportunity because most people that I was connecting with were not available in person. But that's the beautiful part about this is they didn't need to be. So I was able to hone my craft every day, either working on others or working on myself or working on my space as I'm channeling the energy through and seeing what I can do with that, sending the energy to my food or to my water, or grounding in more deeply or connecting in even higher. I was just working with myself in that way as a fully energetic being, as that light being that I am and we all are. So I dove really deep into the work through March, through April, through May. The gym is still shut down. I still am so far away from even knowing when I can return to work. So I kept hearing from Spirit that I wasn't going to go back to work, that I was going to continue this new path, that this is what I was meant to be doing. And it didn't really make sense to me because I was so clear about what I wanted to do. I was being successful on the path I'd set out on. I had grown as a trainer. I had been growing as a manager. I saw myself moving up and growing with the company. I wanted to buy a house in Spokane. I wanted to anchor in and root there and live there and continue to grow in this space. I'd already set out the path and it was very clear. And then everything changed. And it became more and more clear that that was no longer the path. So I listened. I let my managers know that I wouldn't be coming back after the lockdown ended. I wasn't sure how long it was going to be, whether 1, 2, 3, 6 months later. I didn't know, but it really didn't matter because I knew that I wasn't going to be coming back, that I needed to completely change my entire life and go on this new path, go on this new journey. And I was being called to Kauai. That's actually where Tilly, my Reiki master, lived. And just before I moved out there, she attuned me to master level because I'd been doing so much work. I'd been facilitating so many sessions. I'd been learning so much and growing so quickly. She felt like I was ready for my master attunement. So as a newly attuned Reiki master, feeling clearly called to Kauai, I left my job. I sold pretty much everything I had. I packed up, and moved to Kauai to start fresh. I found a place to live and I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't know really what I would be doing or how I would make it work. I just knew that I would make it work one way or another. Just like I did in Spokane, it was a new city. I was starting fresh, but I was betting on myself. I knew that this was the path and that I wasn't going to let myself sink and fail. And even if I did fail, it would lead me another direction. That was where I needed to be. So I knew I'd come here, try it as hard as I could try, put forth all of my effort, my energy, with my clear intentions and focus, and see where I was led, see where Spirit was going to guide me, see what was going to come up for me on the path, the people, the places, the opportunities, continue to dive into the work, connect with those that wanted to receive Reiki sessions, continue to share more about my journey through social media. And I found that I was able to connect with a pretty large audience through TikTok. That expanded out and I've been able to connect with others around the world, connecting in with some bigger group sessions. And it's allowed me to anchor in even more deeply here on Kauai. So when I landed on Kauai, I wasn't sure what I would be doing. I just knew that I wanted to go further on the path, work as hard as I could, stay focused, and continue to grow this new passion of mine, this new way of supporting other people. And I was here for it. it didn't really go very far very fast. There was months where I was not making enough to survive. I was dipping into my savings. I was deeply dipping into all of the resources that I had, because I wasn't making enough. But it wasn't going to be a space that I would let myself fail, that I was going to call it quits after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. I stayed the course. I committed to myself I was going to make this work one way or another. And if it didn't work here and I did have to go back to Salt Lake or somewhere else, I knew it would work there or lead me to the place where it was going to work. So after months of not really gaining much traction at all, through self-admittedly more of maybe some insecurity on my end from fully sharing what I was doing, about who I was becoming, about what I was really stepping into and what I was here for, then I really allowed myself and gave myself permission to express fully, freely who I was, what I'm doing on TikTok. It's actually seemed like a total disconnect from everything I built previously on Instagram and through social media. I had built my presence and exposure, my audience, just through everything fitness, everything with bodybuilding, everything with my physique, everything in the gym, the lifting videos. And it just felt like there was so much energy tied to it. Everything was so tied towards this almost a past life in a way, this decade of work all through my 20s where I was in the gym building my body and my strength. I was competing in these shows, and I just started completely fresh in this new area, just free from all of that, letting myself come freshly, newly into a brand new audience. And over the past few months, I've been able to expand and reach a much larger audience across the world, been able to facilitate these group Reiki sessions, these deep meditation sessions with hundreds or thousands of people that are connecting in with what I'm putting out there. And it's been a really beautiful experience getting to share more freely, more fully what I'm doing and who I am. And that brings me to where I am today. I feel very secure in myself, very anchored in what I'm doing, very stable and grounded here on Kauai as well. So I'm going to continue the path, facilitating these Reiki sessions, the path of an energy worker, a light worker, to continue supporting others in clearing their body, their energy, their mind, their spirit, allowing them to free and open themselves up to embody more light, to anchor in more light, to get more in tune with their internal divinity, to get more clear on their path. And that's a big reason why I wanted to share my story today too, just to show that I felt so clear on where I was going. It felt so obvious, and I knew that that's where I was going to be and I was going to succeed. And then everything completely shifted, and I listened to the messages, I listened to the guidance, to the intuition, to that deep knowing of my soul's calling, my path, my dharma, my mission here, and I followed it. And at first it was really hard because I wasn't sure I was going to succeed. I wasn't making enough to support myself, and I wasn't getting, the full support from family or friends or people that knew me in this other way. People that knew me as a personal trainer, that knew me as a bodybuilder, that knew me as this version. And I'm creating a brand new version here, and it can be hard to bring the two together and realize I'm the same person still, just on a new chapter, on a new path, continuing with that momentum. And there was definitely a growing process. There was a time where it seemed like I might not make it here, living on Hawaii, like this paradise, that this dream reality that I've been called to, that it just might not work and I'd have to restart somewhere else. But I stuck it out. I stuck it through, and I have no doubt now I am so secure, I am so supported, I am so guided that it's not even a question anymore. I know it's going to work out. And from listening to those messages, to that guidance, to that deep inner knowing of why I'm here, of what I'm supposed to be doing, then I've been given more than I even could have imagined. The kind of life that I'm living now, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so blessed. I'm in such an amazing space to be able to help others. Like, it feels so incredible to me to know that all I'm bringing in is light, that all that I'm sharing is the love, that it's support, it's positivity, that I can share my story now, hopefully to provide some inspiration or motivation for you to continue further on your path into what feels right for you. It's not that you need to become a Reiki master. It's not that you need to quit your job and move across the country to live in Hawaii. You don't need to do that. But if you continue to tune in to yourself, if you show up for the work, to look at your shadow, those more difficult aspects that want to be looked at, that want to be processed, integrated, addressed, cleared, the parts that want to be loved on, the parts that want to be brought back into the light, to allow yourself to get more clear about what's really true for you. What's really, really true for your soul's calling, for your path, to what feels the most aligned, the most alive for you, what ignites your passion. That's where you should go, if it feels good to you. So I'm glad that I could share my story. Hopefully you picked up some pieces here that resonated with you and maybe just gave you a broader, more clear understanding of me, of where I came from, of where I've been, of what got me here today. And I'm super excited to continue sharing myself more fully, more freely. There's more guided meditations to come. There's more sound baths to come. There's more Reiki and energy work to come. I'm going to continue to hold this space and anchor it in for those that want to connect in with me. That's those that want to feel this kind of energy and are resonating with me at a deep level. So I'm happy that you found me here on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. Just search up Reiki Robert and we'll connect in deeper. I'm all around. I'm here. You're here. We're here. So let me know if there's any more videos specifically you'd like to see from me, any other content, if there's questions that you have, anything you'd like to hear my perspective on. There will be more links down below in the description to connect with me, to book a Reiki session with me, and the links for all these other socials. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching or listening or both. Sending you so much love, so much light, so much aloha. Thank you. And I'll see you again soon.